We come on now to our last topic of the day. We started with the chaos in the Tory party, and this week, Linda, there's been a wee bit of a stew sheet going on in the SNP. I appreciate you. This may not be the easiest subject for you to talk about, but we heard for the NEC. The NEC made a decision about dual mandates and about what an MP would have to do if they wanted to stand for Holyrood. This was widely seen as a way of shutting Joanna Cherry out of running in the Edinburgh Central seat. We also saw James Dornan seemingly blocked out of standing by the introduction of a women-only list for his constituency. Now, that has since been overturned because James had said that he was going to stand again and therefore wouldn't be put in the position of having a women-only list. So he will now be able to stand again. The issue with the £10,000 cost for an MP wanting to shift to Holyrood still stands, though. So first of all, what do you make of how these decisions were presented to the party and the wider public?
Right. First of all, the £10,000 thing doesn't apply. That was kicked out, I understand. Now, I'm not on the executive. The party has an executive. There's 40 plus people on it that come to these decisions. I understand that because of COVID, because of the executive not being able to meet as they normally would, it's taken a lot longer to discuss these things as would have normally. But basically, what the executive has said is that if somebody who is already an MP wishes to stand for another parliament, then they should stand down for the election period. So you're talking, what, maybe 6-7 weeks or something like that, because we're not having dual mandate. I think, as I said, I'm not in the executive. The reason behind that, I would imagine, is we had a Westminster election in December, just last year, only months ago. We returned MPs to Westminster who are doing a job for the party and the cause at Westminster. We have a Scottish Parliament election coming up. There's been 3 Westminster elections in comparatively recent years. It costs a blooming fortune to run elections, and by-elections cost an awful lot more. So I think this is probably a pragmatic response to, we have 2 sets of parliamentarians, they do complementary jobs, they should be just getting on with their job and getting on with it. And if we had a lot of people dual mandating, we would have a lot of by-elections further down the line that would cost a lot of money. So I actually don't have a big problem with the decision made because it's been democratically made by the party's executive. And this is what always happens. What also always happens at times of in the run-up to the elections, since the advent of social media, you get social media going wild, you get people who should know better spouting their opinions about party policy to the world. My view is internal party politics are internal party politics. So I just stand by the democratic processes of the party, and if that's what the executive have decided, I may like it, I may not like it, but do you know what? That's a democratic decision. Move on.
And we've heard that this is all part of a great civil war within the SNP. How concerned are you that, I mean, I'm not going to ask you to kind of go into whose side you're on or whatever, but how concerned are you that this narrative is going to affect the party going into an election?
Well, do you know, I've been about for a long time and I've fought so many elections, and we have this every time there's an election. You know, we have all these, I said earlier that journalists annoy me sometimes. Well, here's a time they annoy me. We have all this speculation about splits in the party and about this and about that. And, well, you know, I would go by our record because what fundamentally holds the SNP together, regardless of all the other arguments that go on, is an absolute passion for independence. And that's what motivates us. And that's how we'll get there. Now, with the advent of social media, that's become more difficult. And sometimes I think people are speaking to their own wee village. Because I'm pretty sure if I went out in East Kilbride, stopped a random 100 people and said, what about this? They wouldn't know who half the people were that are getting talked about. They would just say Nicola Sturgeon's doing a good job. And they would say whether or not they believe in independence. The rest, I believe, is froth. So, yes, of course, we're a political party that has troubles. You know, there isn't a political party across the UK that doesn't have troubles right now. By the very nature of humanity, you have troubles when you come together. We don't always all agree on everything. No, I think we're pretty sound going into next year's election.
And looking forward to that election, do you think that we will see another independence vote within a reasonable amount of time
Yes.
after that election?
Yes, I do believe so.
Okay.